I'm Tom Baker, this is Chasing Cars, and today I'm driving one of the best value family cars that you can buy. This is the Subaru Outback, and you see these handsome wagons everywhere, and after about 10 days with it, I can safely say that I understand why. The Outback is practical, well equipped, and affordable, but most importantly, it offers families a large vehicle without needing to buy an enormous high-riding SUV. Instead, the Outback is essentially a station wagon, with the security of all-wheel drive and slightly increased ride height. Well, all of that sounds pretty compelling to me, so let's jump in and see whether the Subaru Outback makes a case for itself inside. Hop into the Outback and first impressions are pretty good. This is a simple, functional, well laid out interior. You sit in these large and relatively soft leather seats that also score heating. I found them pretty comfortable. They've got good adjustability, the driver gets 2 memory positions as well, but the seats are actually mounted quite high to give you the impression that you're sitting a little bit higher than the rest of the traffic on the road, which lots of people will like. You get a 7-inch touchscreen that runs Subaru's Starlink infotainment system, and it's pretty much the Toyota navigation system, so if you're familiar with that, it works almost the same way. That does mean that, like in Toyotas, you're not able to tap in destinations on the move. However, you are able to do it via the Subaru's really impressive voice command system. However, the stereo, while crisp, could use a little bit more bassy punch. Subaru generously includes a sunroof as well in this interior, which I've used a lot now that we're moving into summer here in Sydney, though obviously not today. And this is also a nice and practical interior. So you get a really big cubby ahead of the shifter there, which has a USB port. You get a nice deep central bin here that I was able to fit our big camera into, which is great. 2 really nice big cup holders and decent sized door bins as well. At about 4.8 meters long, the Outback is a large wagon, and what that means is you get plenty of room here in the back for people traveling back here. So you can see that for me at 6 foot, I've got solid headroom above me, and I've got really good legroom sitting behind myself. Plus, I'm actually able to recline this bench quite far, which makes this a really nice, relaxing road trip car. And then there is a fold-down armrest here with a pair of cup holders, which is great, and some air vents to keep people cool back here as well. And in terms of fitting 3 people across, you can do it. There's just a little bit of a hump in the floor for that all-wheel drive system to travel through. Open up the Outback's electric tailgate, and once it is open, you'll find that this wagon has an absolutely massive boot. So behind that back row, I mean, it's just enormous. There's about 512 litres of space back there, which is easily enough for an absolutely huge Christmas time shop or a bunch of large suitcases. Plus, this is actually a clever boot, so you do get a couple of shopping bag hooks, which is great. You're able to drop those seats from right here in the boot, which I absolutely love. And if you do that, you actually end up with over 1,800 litres of space, which I tested by getting a really big bookshelf into this car earlier in the week. Plus, elsewhere, the practicality theme continues. So actually under the floor, you are able to store this car's cargo cover, which is really great. And then up here on the roof of the car, those roof racks aren't actually just for show. This car comes with fully functional racks, which can be adjusted to either run the length or the breadth of the car to help you tie things down up there on the roof. You can get the Outback with a number of engines, and most people will be just fine with this standard 2.5 litre petrol 4-cylinder, which really just gets the job done. It's naturally aspirated, so don't go expecting massive performance, but the 129 kilowatts and 235 newton meters on tap are definitely enough to zip around town, and the engine's also nice and relaxed on the highway. You can get a 110 kilowatt turbo diesel for another $3,000, but the fuel economy difference isn't really enough to justify that in my opinion. Over my time with this 2.5 litre, I've been getting in the high 9s in town and just over 7 litres per 100 kilometres on the highway, and those numbers are respectable, particularly for a car of this size. If performance is key, you can get a 3.6 litre Boxer 6-cylinder with 191 kilowatts for $6,000 more than this car. You can get a manual in the Outback, which is pretty cool, but most people are going to go for the automatic, which is a CVT. And to be honest, it's one of the best CVTs that I've driven. It stays out of the way most of the time, it's quiet, keeps the revs low, and you can't even tell it's a CVT unless you really thrash the Outback, which is not really something that people do with Outbacks, because it's not a very sporty car on the road. The steering is nice and light, which makes it really manoeuvrable in town, although it's slightly artificial in nature, but body roll is actually nicely controlled in this car. But the Outback is really a cruiser. It doesn't really mess around with sporting protections, and I think that's good. It's not really the purpose of the car. However, like all Subarus except the BRZ, the Outback does have permanent all-wheel drive with a 50-50 front-rear split, and it's actually a really good system. So we've obviously been having terrible weather in Sydney over the last week, and the Outback has felt really safe and sound and grippy the whole time. But we also took it on a few trails on the central coast of New South Wales where it coped admirably. Plus it has 213mm of ground clearance, which means getting over small obstacles is no problem for this car. Safety also gets a big tick. Subaru's eyesight system is actually standard across the range, and you get a number of good features with that. Active cruise control, lane departure warning, an alert when the car moves ahead in front of you, and blind spot monitoring are all standard.
If I had about 42 grand and needed a big, safe, capable family car, it'd be very hard to go past the Subaru Outback. As a friend put it, the Outback is subtly well designed. It's practical, easy to live with, and packed with equipment at what is seriously a bargain price. Add all that to the fact that it's pretty much a raised estate, and I'm in.